time to get geeked up.
But yeah, so I guess we should say that this movie we watched, we picked the spooky ticket instead of the golden ticket, you know, because it's Halloween time.
Yeah.
It was covered in cobwebs and slime.
Out of the old geeked up cauldron of dry ice and...
Yeah, I lost a lot of fingers dipping my hand in there. But it's a Stephen King book, I guess. But not only Stephen King, he wrote it with his son... Joe Hill.
Yeah, the old...
his name is Joe Hill, his son, which I have to keep telling Liam it's not Jonah Hill.
I always get confused. It seems... I'm amazed with this talented Jonah Hill. He's lost all the weight, and now he started writing horror movies.
Yeah, this is much like Uma...
It does star Seth Rogen, though, right? Tell me it stars Seth Rogen.
Yeah, he plays Tobin. Help! I'm lost in this tall grass.
Yeah, sounds like a pot classic.
Yeah. In the tall grass. The sequel to Pineapple Express, we find out. But, yeah, it is Stephen King and a Joe Hill, but... mainly...
Which I guess is his new collaborator, as we'll kind of get into
his
Stephen
son?
King
Yeah.
in a minute here, but he has, I guess, now kind of started working much more frequently with his son Joe.
Yeah, which is his pen name. I forget his real name, but it's Joe Hill to us commoners.
Okay, I see. But much like, doesn't Stephen King himself have another pen name?
Stephen King used to write with the pen name Richard Bachman.
Okay.
And he wrote, like, The Running Man, for instance, was a Richard Bachman novel.
Oh, interesting.
And it was just one of those things.
I thought Arnold wrote and directed that one himself. That wasn't a... I thought that was like Arnold's Motherless Brooklyn, where he...
Yeah, it was his Rocky.
I'm running a lot in this one.
I normally don't do cardio. But, yeah, he had one, and then I think the story goes that, like, some nerd at a book that worked at a bookstore like figured it out and like broke the code that Richard Bachman was Stephen King because he like wrote a letter to like his agent or something. It was like, hey, I figured it out. Like I'm gonna expose it because the story goes that Stephen King called the guy at the bookstore and was like, look, you know I'm Richard Bachman. I know I'm Richard Bachman. What are we gonna do about it? And it just came out that he was.
Okay, interesting.
Richard
now,
Bachman.
why exactly did he
use a pen name?
Was he just trying to? You know,
I think after like his first books being like
super popular, trying to get away from
exactly,
like,
kind of getting away from the creepier stuff. He trying to write stuff like Running Man, where you know you wouldn't necessarily think of that as a Stephen King book because
Stephen King does have
everything
a
up to
lot
that
of
point
these.
was like It, Salem's Lot, The Shining,
for sure.
So it wouldn't be like
and
sci-fi
I guess that
game
maybe
show.
is a good time to kind of just give you a quick Stephen King rundown, perhaps, because he really does have just like an epic catalog of work.
Oh yeah,
especially
insane.
with the early stuff. All right, and I guess I'm gonna quickly give you a quick rundown of just the hits, mind you.
Yeah,
because there's probably like 50, literally 50 to 100
Yo,
other ones.
crazy, yeah.
That I'm not gonna mention, but just the hits. All right, as Devin's mentioning, we start off strong out the gates. All right, and this is the official IMDB tally. All right, so we're talking early mid 70s with Carrie.
Carrie,
right.
Of course,
comes out swinging hard with Carrie. Then follows it up with Salem's Lot, The Shining.
The Shining.
All right. In the immediate future, we got The Creep Show, Cujo, Christine, Children of the Corn. Can this asshole fucking not write something with the C, for God's sakes? He's really spooked out by the letter C. So Maximum Overdrive, which potentially his first.
I think it's the only movie he's ever directed himself.
Okay, that's true too.
And I'm pretty sure it wasn't a book. I'm pretty sure he wrote a script, directed it, and then he said he's never will direct again. And people ask him why, and he goes, "Because have you ever seen Maximum Overdrive?" It's
you know what, Maximum Overdrive really isn't that bad. I remember as a kid seeing it.
Yeah, I think
just thinking it was
rules.
just like maybe as a kid it rules, but
I don't know
being
if,
like a good enough action. I guess you know what, even as a kid it had like the bad action,
like the soda machine shooting
exactly. Yeah. The death by vending machine. One hell of a way to go.
The big Green Goblin truck. Who they just remember they think they just want gas. They'll let us give them gas.
I mean, very though ahead of his time in a world now that we're like years away from the road being filled with Maximum Overdrive, cars driving the Maximum Overdrive style cars that drive themselves. Sure. Are you telling me that we're not all going to die to fucking machine someday?
I hope they.
It's probably his most accurate movie, to be honest. Like, I'm sure more people have died from vending machine accidents than mysterious killer clowns. That, you know what I mean? So really,
car accidents and vending machines. That's not. Yeah.
All right, so I guess for Maximum Overdrive, kind of sticking with the not so creepy. All right, we go Maximum Overdrive. We go Stand by Me.
Of course.
Perhaps all-time greatest work. Then The Running. I mean, he really nailed the horror factor of the older brother.
Oh yeah.
Nothing scarier.
Kiefer Sutherland.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then Running Man. I guess really where he peaked.
Oh come on. That's the
Working with
best.
Arnold in The Running Man. Then Lawnmower Man.
Okay, so now this one you blew my mind. I didn't know this was a.
Well, you were really fooled by the Richard Bachman. You don't hang out with the idiots at the local bookstore enough.
He put one over on me. I didn't know Lawnmower.
Really, not much of a reader, bro. So Lawnmower Man. I guess getting back to the horror though, and I guess now we're like solidly in the 80s. We've got Pet Sematary.
Oh yeah.
All right, and then It. Parts 1 and 2.
TV movie.
TV movies, yes. TV series
Tim
for
Curry.
It. All right. Then perhaps one of the all-time, I'd say maybe totally shot in the dark, but I'd say perhaps his like most Oscar bait, potentially with Misery. Did what's her face win a
Kathy Bates?
I prefer what's her face for perhaps the greatest actress of all. But did Kathy Bates? I think she might have been nominated.
I think she was definitely nominated. She might have won actually.
Yeah, I think she might have even won. But has Stephen King any other nominations for any of these?
Probably
did the asshole that played Pennywise come up?
No, he didn't win an Emmy for. But I mean, if you look to the future, I think maybe Shawshank might have been nominated for some stuff.
Well, hey, spoiler alert! not getting there. I guess, yeah, well, we will have a confirmed hit later in a couple, and I guess we're really right there, but from Misery to Sleepwalkers, another good one.
Sleepwalkers. Is that the one with the...
Okay, am I thinking of Sleepers? Am I thinking of the...
Sleepwalkers, what? They were werewolves? Because I remember Silver Bullet in the 80s was Stephen King one with Gary Busey and one of the other Corys. He was in a wheelchair.
Okay, hilarious.
I don't remember.
Sleepwalkers.
I remember Tommy Knockers was another TV movie.
Maybe this is one of, and like I said, all sorts of in the mix.
Yeah.
These are just the ones that just I write. I'm sure there's some the comic book nerd from the bookstore is sitting there. You missed.
You forgot.
But these are just the hits, like I mentioned. So then Devin already gave it away, but perhaps
Sorry.
for me the
Bradley
biggest
Cooper dies at the end.
yeah, I guess. And Bradley Cooper dies at the end form. But for me, the biggest surprise since Stand By Me. But Shawshank,
All right.
Stephen King. You would not think a Stephen King classic
No,
for
again, you
Shawshank Redemption.
You wouldn't at all.
But
because-
all-time classic, and definitely, you know what I mean, definitely not horror at all, but definitely extremely, like, psychological, the whole Brooksy angle at the end. You know, it's kind of not necessarily of a genre of itself.
Yeah.
Outside of being just a great movie.
It really is, and there's nothing like mystical or magic about it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's just
for
like
sure.
a straight up story about poor Andy Dufresne stuck in jail for not spoiler alert, not killing his wife. But yeah, it's definitely a movie you would never think of as a Stephen King.
Yeah, for
has
sure.
made the Shawshank Redemption.
Definitely. Not horror, not sci-fi, nothing Stephen King at all. Even Stand By Me, like, and then I guess actually...
Stand By Me has like the dead body
for
they're
sure,
looking for.
and definitely
that
creepy
factor
for sure.
to it.
As a kid watching, definitely terrified by Stand By Me, you know what I mean? Like barely, and more than just the creepy, more than just the older brother factor, but just a very creepy, ominous feel. Like you said, the dead body. There's just an uneasy, creepy feeling.
And even going forward to, I think would be next on your list, I can't think I'm spoiling it too much, would be another one you might not think of as Stephen King, but The Green Mile would be another one I think might have got Oscar nominated.
I think Michael Clark Duncan, was he?
For sure.
I think he definitely won for that one.
I think
he was.
he did.
I think he was the first ever
giant
man over
an Academy Award.
Yeah, exactly. First ever man over 8 feet to win an Oscar. Although isn't he like not as tall that it's cracked up to be? It was.
Well, he's dead now. So,
Okay, so I guess I
He's
want to bring
definitely
up
not-
the fact that he was really only 6'4",
but even that movie
I
still
think
has
he's not like actually a huge giant though. He's big for like Hollywood,
Sure.
but I don't think he's like
probably 6'1".
yeah, exactly. He's fucking shit taller than Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
but-
yeah, you're probably right. In a world full of like 5'5",
yeah. I think he's like
leading
6'6"
men.
or something like that.
6'6" is big.
He's big. He's a big dude, but he's not like
A giant.
Yeah. He's not as big as you'd think.
But
He's not as big as the fucking guy from the movie. You know what I
for
mean?
like he's no Andre,
Exactly.
not Davi the giant.
Exactly.
Andre Davi, a giant in my eyes, but musically. But I guess what I was saying though is that in the Green Mile still has like that magic factor to it. You know what I mean?
Yes,
You, like,
that's
the feel
true.
Stuff like has the jail feel like Shawshank,
For
but
sure.
like the magic is still. I'd say Shawshank.
There's some type. Yeah, there's a mystical kind of feel.
I'd say Shawshank and or Running Man might be the two that really don't feel Stephen Kingish the most.
Yeah,
Because Running Man, there's no horror aspect.
for sure.
It's
Running
just
Man
like
just
a video
straight
game
80s
almost.
action.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. That was a big shock. Yeah, I'd say you probably nailed that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No Oscar for Running Man, huh? What a crock of shit. I don't want to
Yeah.
live in this world.
Those are probably the most un-Stephen King ones. Then, however, I guess we have the Green Mile. When was that? Like I'd say late '90s, maybe turn
Yeah.
of the century or so.
I think it was like 90.
So
yeah,
we're
maybe-
talking like from 25 years from the mid '70s till the late '90s, whenever Green Mile came out. Just an astonishing number of hits. All right.
sure.
Ever since then, however, on the IMDb list, kind of trails off. Where the body of work definitely didn't slow down, but the
Yeah,
hits
they were kept pumping out.
definitely dropped off significantly. I guess The Mist.
Yeah, The Mist
was slightly popular.
Yeah.
Then I
Just
guess
for
kind
its
of in
crazy
recent
ending,
years, yeah, kind of known. It was more of like a M. Night Shyamalan horror style. But then I guess in recent years, kind of the Dark Tower series has kind of been popular.
The Dark Tower series was popular. The movie,
That's true.
was a
The
huge
movie
disappointment.
Was a huge flop. Yeah.
Old Stringer Bell couldn't pull it in as the gunslinger, I guess.
Castle Rock we brought up in our fall Geeked Up fall special.
We did.
Has been popular. That's come back for season 2.
And again, that's just like it's not none of that's based off of any of Stephen King's books. It's just like takes place in the Stephen King universe.
Yeah.
I think like
so kind of like catching on his pop culture relevancy
For sure.
but not exactly a new cutting edge.
because Castle Rock is like a town that shows up in a lot of the books. Like
Okay,
even,
yes.
that it's just a lot of the events take place in or around Castle Rock.
Yeah. And then I guess kind of, in that same theme, just kind of capitalizing on his fame in general. But then I guess really the most recent thing that he's had big success for would be the It series reboots.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's like the second installment of that whole franchise. You can't really give him too much credit for that for
Pulled
the
in big
second
numbers.
time, you know. And now we talked about it a little bit, but Creep Show coming back. We'll see how that,
That's
fares.
right.
But
And then another big look to the future, maybe his next big movie hit would be Dr. Sleep.
okay, yes.
Coming out, which is the
As well.
sequel, long-awaited. Well, I don't know awaited, but the 40 year later, I guess, sequel to The Shining.
Which is really just an insane whole story, just in a lot of angles. The Shining, really one of the all-time best movies. Now, apparently, we talk about it a lot, but I'll say it again, really not much of a reader.
Yeah.
And apparently this is one of those where Stanley Kubrick's interpretation of The Shining vastly different than the Stephen King
Correct.
book.
Absolutely.
And like the Shining movie is what everybody refers to as
yeah.
that's what I refer
so
to.
they're
the classic
more of
movie.
making the book is
So-
a direct sequel to the
movie.
the book is a direct sequel to the book, to the first book, The Shining. The movie now is going to be a sequel to the movie, just because everyone associates The Shining with the Jack Nicholson movie.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? It can't be like we're going to do a
But the
book
Jack
sequel.
Nicholson movie was
A loose adaptation.
yeah,
of the
loose
book.
adaptation
You know what I mean?
from the book.
It's there.
And
It's
now
mostly
this
there. They
movie
just omit a lot of
is-
stuff.
So was there even a Stephen King like post Shining book that this new movie is even
Dr.
based
Sleep.
on? Okay, there
There
was, a Dr.
book,
Sleep
yeah.
book.
I read the books
but this
back to
one-
back.
but
I
this
read The
movie as
Shining
well.
and then Dr. Sleep back to back.
Okay, I see.
And the book, the book's great because Dr. Sleep literally starts off like right the second The Shining ends.
Okay,
and then it's
and it
about
makes a lot of
grown-up
sense. It's pretty
Dan
much kind
Torrance,
of like It 2 style.
correct.
Growing
Now he's
up.
a grown up. Correct. The reason he even wrote this is because like someone at some Comic-Con asked him, they're like, "Whatever happened to grown up Danny?" And he was just like, and then like, but he
Cha-ching,
needed
cha-ching, cha-ching.
a lot of help writing the book too, just because I think maybe Joe Hill.
That's
maybe
where
had a hand
Joe
in it.
Hill comes in, bro.
Because he wrote the fucking book 40 years ago. You know what I mean? It's not like, all right, how do I write a direct sequel to something?
Now, this is kind of one of those, like,
I can't remember what we talked about in the Roma episode, let alone
yeah, for real.
a book 40 years ago.
But I mean, and this kind of reminds me of M. Night Shyamalan style, like I just mentioned, but Unbreakable coming out 20 years after the first installment, and again in really, because this is not really being marketed heavily as, hey, you know, the greatest movie of all time. Yeah, this is the sequel. It's like,
it's really
you really
not.
have to kind of do a little bit of research to even know that.
I think that's probably what they're trying to keep away from too, just because
for expectation
The Shining
purposes,
exactly is held in such high regard that I think if you really advertise it hard as the sequel to The Shining, people would be like, all right.
But I mean, dude, if you see the billboard for Dr. Sleep, you're going to have no idea. You know what I mean? It's like you got to let people know a little bit.
The trailer does
you know?
kind of say it.
The trailer does,
the trailer says it, but they're not like really like going hard with like,
The
Shining 2.
Yeah. Which is what I would have gone with.
Yeah.
in Geeked Up or in Netflix and chat style. What's our kitschy questions segment style? Devin's sequel segment.
Yeah, I'm going In the Tall Grass 2. But I guess that is In the Tall Grass. I guess his new thing.
Bringing us to In the Tall Grass.
That's right.
But I guess my working theory, however, is ever since this Joe Hill came in the picture, all right, either as a collaborator, which was I think like around, we kind of looked into it like around ever since 2010, he's been kind of starting doing a lot more collaborations with son Joe Hill, or really ever since that little asshole started annoying Stephen King and distracting him from his great work in the early 2000s. But I'm blaming Joe Hill for the lack of productivity, either from forcing his dad to take him to Little League practice after Green Mile, where I'm not getting enough attention. Stop writing novels.
Yeah, it could have been that, or it could have been him, getting mowed down by a car outside of his house. Either or.
But I guess just want to highlight, however, that over the last 20 years, a noticeable lack of productivity, and over the last 10, let's just call it, working with collaborator Joe Hill on a at this point almost exclusive basis, it seems.
Yeah, it really does.
So I don't know how much we want to blame Joe Hill. Also, no more movies starting with the letter C, which I really feel was where he went wrong in his career.
Yeah, but you could say until this point, I don't want to give a spoiler alert to the head of this later on in this episode, but I mean, you could blame Joe Hill for a lot, but then we got into Tall Grass, and
things really turned around.
We're right back into things here.
Ooh, baby, it's time to get geeked up.